Hi, everybody. Welcome to a brand new edition of Podium Picks. It's a new year, so we're going a new format. Sean and Tommy here inside the Working Against Gravity studios. We're going to be joined by a very special guest here in just one moment. But I'm excited about this. We're changing things up a little bit here with Podium Picks. We're going to do a little bit of a draft style, a kind of a snake draft like you would do with fantasy football.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We're doing best fight scenes. So we had to do some research here. I'm very excited about what's going to go on here, Tommy.
And before we get the draft going, we're going to talk through some of the rules and regulations because I have one question about clarifying. So just so we know.
Well, another thing we need to clarify to the people is that we know the Open's coming up here. And if you want to get your nutrition dialed in and you want to be at your absolute best for the 2021 CrossFit Games Open, you really want to check out our friends at Working Against Gravity.
100%. Proud to have Working Against Gravity on board. We're in the Working Against Gravity studio. You guys have heard us talk a bunch about it. I've been a member of Working Against Gravity for about 5 years now. So, between my fiance and Working Against Gravity, you could say I've, just as dedicated to my nutrition. So if you guys are interested in Working Against Gravity's online nutrition coaching program, it's one-on-one with a coach. You'll get your very own customized nutrition program, weekly check-ins to help you update and kind of curate that program to best fit your needs. Whether you're an elite athlete, you can go through their performance nutrition coaching, or your everyday athlete just looking to improve your overall quality of life. That's what their lifestyle nutrition coaching track can do for you. They have their very own proprietary check-in platform called Seismic, which I think is phenomenal. It has made me a better person in terms of being able to be aware of and pay attention to the right things about my nutrition based on what they ask. There's thousands of hours of research at your fingertips. If you guys don't believe me, you can go down to workingagainstgravity.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, see their latest transformations. They have a ton of testimonials, over 25,000 different people they've helped either lose weight, gain muscle, and increase performance. You can only do that at workingagainstgravity.com. If you sign up to get a coach, use the code ELITE50, you get $50 off your first month.
Really happy with them and having them on board, Working Against Gravity. Check them out, workingagainstgravity.com. Okay, let's get down to business, Tommy.
Oh, yeah.
Usually we've been doing these Podium Picks episodes by ourselves. We said, you know what? We need to bring some fun people on here. So we're going to bring on our first guest for Podium Picks. That man is Jacob Heppner. Jacob, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am good. I'm just laughing to myself, thinking of you guys arguing in a room by yourselves and everyone's listening later to it.
Okay, so we really appreciate you doing this. Here, we're going to do it. So we're going to do a draft, okay? And the way this is going to work is that we're going to have, we will let you, Jacob, decide where you want to go, 1, 2, or 3. Now, keep in mind, if you pick first, the second person is going to go, and then the third person is going to go twice, and then the second person goes again. And then
it's like we're playing Catan, pretty much.
Yes. Exactly. Yes, that's essentially how this is going to work.
I got you, boys.
So there's a little bit of some strategy involved here. Now, do we
I want to go second?
Okay.
Yeah.
That is actually a good strategy. I like that. Okay.
And so to determine the draft order with Sean and I, who gets first pick, we're going to do a coin flip. And funny enough, I have a coin that from your former fitness establishment that you actually gave me. Is a coin from Cobra Command CrossFit. That you gave.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
I think you gave to me in 2016, and it sits on our desk here at the. So the stars are aligning a little bit.
All right. So do I are you going to flip it? I call in the air, and then I get to decide.
Yes.
Okay.
If you win, you get to decide. If you lose, I get to decide.
Oh man. Okay.
So I'm going to catch it and flip it to the palm. So,
okay.
All right.
Call in the air. Right.
So heads is logo.
Okay.
Tails is Bear Steel.
Sweating. This is pressure here. Okay, right. Go. Heads.
It's tails.
Oh! All right. I'm at the mercy of you two. I don't like this. Okay.
I'm going to take the first overall.
Ooh, Tommy's going first, so that means I'm third, so I get back-to-back picks. All right, so we're doing best fight scenes. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to have a draft, and then at the end of this whole thing, we're going to let you, the listeners and the viewers, decide who had the best draft.
Yes, we're going to vote as
in overall all top 5 picks, or who had like the best chosen individual one.
It's good. We're gonna present it, right. So our podium picks will be 1 through 3. We typically pick a spirit of the games in our podium picks and a dark horse pick. So if your pick kind of falls in line with those, that's great. But think of the Spirit of the Games and Dark Horse as the 4th and 5th spots, more of like a regional podium.
Yeah, I like that.
And so we'll have them vote at what they think. And so we'll kind of preface them like, obviously, your first place on the podium is your first pick, second place, second pick. So value for when you got that pick the round matters too, as is the typical case with, major sports drafts. So there's a little bit of nuance here to it. And I want to clarify one thing. Is it fight scenes just from movies, or do TV shows count?
Oh, I think TV shows count too.
Okay.
TV shows too. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
And so do I need to have mine numbered 1 through 5, or am I just presenting them?
No, we're going to do this in order. So you're going to say, okay, with my first pick, I take this one. Okay. And we can't duplicate here. So that's why I'm a little nervous, because I'm pretty sure 2 of mine that I wanted are going to be off the board right off the bat with you 2 guys going before me. But I get 2 in a row. So, all right. So I think people are now making adjustments to their draft boards.
Yeah. Give me like 10 seconds.
Okay. 10 seconds.
I labeled 6, but I only need 5. So one of these has got to go.
But you're going to need more, because what if I take one of yours? So that's the thing.
I'm gonna make them up on the fly then. So.
Ooh, okay. Flying by the seat of his pants is one Jacob Heppner here.
Let's see here.
All right. Research going on. Tommy's thinking intently. Now you're going to kick things off here, Tommy.
Yeah. So
with the first pick.
So as is with any case, in these types of drafts, there's an internal dilemma between drafting true to who you are. There's and to what's the best available, right?
Yeah, no, I know.
Do you want the best available, or do you want the player that fits your strategy and your team best?
You're overthinking this.
Oh, believe me, I am not. And so,
all right, first pick. Tommy Marquez is on the clock.
My first pick, overall pick, my 1-1 pick, and I'm wearing the shirt.
Yeah, I'm going to cross this one off right now on my list.
For me, it is an Avengers Endgame. The Battle for Earth, the opening salvo. And that is the battle of Thanos versus the OG3 of Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor.
So you're taking a scene from a scene.
Yes, because the Battle of Earth is a battle. But there's a fight between Thanos as the central figure, and the 3 Avengers attempting to take him down.
All right. So I'm going to I guess I will keep track of this here. I will be the draft board guy. So I'm going to do, so Tommy, I'm typing out here. Tommy takes, he takes battle. You take the fight between Thanos and the OG3.
I call it the opening salvo. So yes.
All right.
And this is why I'm
nerd.
Hey, that's a compliment coming from you,
that's
Jacob.
A good point. All right, give me your justification here.
Okay. So this opening fight scene is literally the beginning of the payoff and culmination of 22 movies in 11 years. It's the battle and payoff we've all been waiting for. And there are in just that scene alone, there are so many payoffs and pieces of fan service in the 25 minutes between the initial standoff and the final snap. So the way it starts, it is an underrated piece, in my opinion.
Get comfortable, Jacob. You're going to be here a while with this story.
It starts with Thanos just sitting there like a G. Just know what? They're going to come to me, knife in like blade in the ground. Come get a piece. And then, Thor, who's literally been ripped to shreds and over his internal strife over Thanos and his inability to save his family, is watching him. And we get to see the first time Thor dual wield Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. And his charge up is like a mixture of, it's like the MCU version of going Super Saiyan and Raiden from Mortal Kombat.
Wow.
And like the charge up immediately transforms him into his battle armor. He gets the Norseman beard weave. He looks freaking sweet. I don't know how, but despite being having put on 50 extra pounds, he looks more attractive than he ever has as Thor. And I mean, don't even
this is going off the rails fast.
Yeah. But see, and then within the actual battle choreography and fight, there's a bunch of callbacks. So the Thor Tony Iron Man suit charge up is a callback to the first Avengers movie, when at the Thor first hits Tony with a blast, with a lightning bolt. Has no idea who Tony is. Tony somehow gets it, and they're like, your suit's charged to 1,000%. And he's like, oh, all right. And that's a callback to it, because now they've learned from that. It's a theme with Tony. He learns from his mistakes, and then he builds off it in the future. He actually builds a mechanism to collect Thor's lightning and use it as a weapon. And then, of course, the one piece that everybody was waiting for. Thor is getting Stormbreaker very slowly pressed into his chest, and you think it's over for him. All of a sudden, hammer comes upside the head from Thanos, and who's wielding it? Captain America.
That was a pretty cool moment.
And
okay.
I watched it and in a theater in Shanghai.
Tears streaming down your face.
I didn't understand a word of what was being said in the theater, but everybody was shouting and screaming when that happened, because everyone wanted to see that Cap was worthy.
Okay.
And that is just, I would be disingenuous to myself as a human being if I didn't pick it.
Okay. That's a good
That's
pick.
solid.
So Jacob, it is now to you with the second overall pick here.
All right, second overall pick is I went for the beach scene, the initial beach scene of Achilles. It's what made kids like myself want to read Greek mythology.
Oh.
It made us want to go read about Odysseus and all these great Greek mythology stories. And it's the beach scene from Troy.
Oh.
When they first, when they hit the beach on Troy, and when he takes over that whole temple, and then when he throws that spear like 100 yards and hits that rider and everyone stops, you just can't beat that. Like Achilles, everyone who watched that movie, I can't watch that movie without thinking to myself at least every 20 seconds, my gosh, Brad Pitt is a hot individual.
Dude, that was a movie you do not take a date to that movie, because you're like, well,
because if Brad Pitt doesn't get him, then Eric Bana and Orlando Bloom picks him off too. So you're like, I mean, that in my opinion, that was peak Brad Pitt, because he got jacked for that.
No,
movie.
he did. Yeah, he's like taking a date to 300.
Even the way they introduce him in that film is just like the thing of legends.
Okay.
They chant his name. Any of those fight scenes. I mean, that whole movie can just be considered to be my top one, whatever. But that one's the best, the beach scene.
That's interesting. I'm a little surprised at the first two picks here. So now it's to me.
Okay.
And my entire draft board is still available. Nothing came off of it that you guys had.
You probably thought I was going a different Avengers.
I did. So I'm gonna. I got to grab the first one I'm grabbing is from Revenge of the Sith. I'm going with Anakin versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, the final lightsaber duel, because much like you with your denouement, if you will, in the Avengers Endgame, this was the culmination of 30 years plus of speculation as to what was going to happen when Obi-Wan fought Anakin and how they became Darth Vader. And I remember sitting in the theater, it was in Southern California with two good friends of mine watching it, and there's a part in there, and Jacob will remember this, when they're like whipping the lightsabers all around themselves in front of they're facing off, and I heard one guy just hits out this giant whoa, like watching the whole thing. So that was pretty awesome. And it was like, that is overall, those three movies I would say were a little bit of a disappointment, but that was the one moment that I can go back and watch over and over and over and over again. I'm like, that delivered. That is a fantastic scene that took lightsaber battles to a whole new level after Darth Maul in episode 1. So that's my first pick. So I'm taking Anakin. I'm gonna type this out. So I
will say, Sean, that movie reinforced a valuable lesson that it's always best to have the high ground. Always. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. You could be. You could be on.
So.
Yep. Go ahead.
I did a really funny TikTok. I don't do TikTok very often. It was like a month ago. I took candy corn and I painted one to be Obi-Wan and one was Anakin.
I saw that. And, good.
Yeah, and then I burned the one who got cut in half because he had the high ground. It was great.
I hate you.
But my wife, Kelly, rolls out and she's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing to candy corn on the ground burning?" Hey, don't worry about it.
Okay, so now this is my second pick now, and I got to take this because I don't think it's going to be on the board if I wait another round. So I'm going to go Iron Man versus Captain America from the Winter Soldier. So that's going to be
on my board.
Yep, that's my number 2 pick. That is one that is like I just loved how they build up to that, and I love the fact that you saw two guys that you would cheer for through this entire film franchise just throwing down and hand-to-hand combat stuff and shields bouncing everywhere. And then when Bucky got involved and just the tandem moves, and it was in a pretty small space too, which if I recall correctly, most of the Marvel movies, most of those fights take place in more open spaces, more expansive. And this one was like kind of just like a like a little bit of a brawl. And I really like that movie a lot. That fight scene though, for my money in all the Avengers movies is probably the best. So that's going to be my second pick out of 5 is going to be Iron Man versus Captain America from the Winter Soldier. So now we go back to you, Jacob.
Oh man, that's such a good pick.
So you're on the clock with your second pick.
I'm on the clock. All right, second pick. I love a good origin story. I know what you guys are thinking, oh, it's gonna be Marvel. No. I love a good origin story. I love an origin story that starts out with revenge. I love a man or woman. I know a man or a woman that gets something taken away from them so deep that they're just the response is so visceral and they can put it on screen and it just makes me happy. And that is Braveheart, Mel Gibson, William Wallace losing his first love, her throat being cut at the stake.
Dude, that is such a good pick.
Like seriously, not even the rest of the movie is don't get me wrong, amazing. But that first scene where you see William Wallace I'm getting chills thinking viscerally my wife died and I am going to murder everything in my path and I'm going to use a deer antler doing it. I
just got chills.
What a good pick, man. That might be that wasn't even on my list, but now I wish it was. One. That is well played, Jacob. Dang. I got goosebumps right now too, just thinking about that.
That's phenomenal. Woo. That was I did not see that one coming. And that is such a good scene. That movie, that is just pure man. Yeah. Man with nothing to lose at that point.
Mel Gibson plays a very good crazy person. I think for obvious reasons, but that might be so far. I feel like that's a steal that he got in the second round there.
Ooh, okay. A lot of my board's still open.
All right. So Tommy's board. Now you get 2. So you're going to go 2 and 3.
You took the Captain America one that was on my board. That's a great pick. God, I didn't even think about that one.
Here we go.
Hit us, Tommy. Hit us with the good stuff. The good stuff. Come on. What you got?
Okay. All right. You know what? Jacob, you struck a chord with me. I'm changing my draft strategy here.
Attaboy.
And it's because you said there's something about a story that begins with revenge.
Ooh.
Right? And there's a 2-part movie that begins with one woman's quest to seek revenge on what she thought was the love of her life.
This is a good one. Yep.
And ultimately is on a warpath. And that is Kill Bill Volume 1. The Bride versus the Crazy 88.
Oh, yeah. You can't like that. Yeah.
So this, the reason why I love this scene is because it also pays homage to another pick on my board, but that I just couldn't go with. This scene was made possible thanks to Bruce Lee's dojo fight scene from the Fists of Fury, which is really the first time in a movie where you saw the surrounded and the central figure be able to fight everybody off in beautiful choreographed fashion. And this was a testament to that. And this is like a Bruce Lee fight with a beautiful Tarantino twist to it. It starts in color. It ends in black and white. The camera editing and the action is phenomenal. I think the black and white transition artfully disguises the blood and gore from the blood spray. The way they revealed what you're about to see with the gore is there's a shot, it cuts to wide, and you see the first 2 guys whose throats she's sliced kind of walk out of frame as they're just spraying the back wall. And it's just enough in frame. You're like, oh, this is what I'm getting ready for.
That scene got excessive for me.
It did, but I think if it were in color, it would have been too much. I think switching to black and white made it feel campy just enough to where you're like, that could be soda, that could be starch. You just don't. It didn't have the same visceral blood response, and I think that was important given what was going to happen. She cuts a guy in half, north south. It's gonna leave a mark, and that's the point where it really dials up because O-Ren Ishii is who she seeks out for the her first I guess victim. It's the R-rated real life version of Fruit Ninja, but and
Okay.
And there's that style gets paid homage to later in The Mandalorian when they paid off the Oren Ishii square off with the fight, right. The fight in the Japanese garden.
Okay.
So,
all right. So you get one more now.
Oh yes, I get the wraparound pick.
Yes, you do.
Yes. All right. Let me fill out my board.
All right. So far you have the opening salvo of Avengers Endgame Final Battle. Yeah. And you have Kill Bill Volume 1, The Bride versus the Crazy 88s, right?
Which I've never seen. So I owe you. I'm really sorry. I'm going to put out my list now. It's on my list.
All right. This is tough because there's two ones that I know I think I can get late, and there's one that I want just out of.
Okay.
There's two modern fight scenes that I consider that I really want. Okay, I'm just gonna go with it. I think it's great value in round number 3. I'm gonna take John Wick 3 Parabellum, the antique shop fight.
Ooh, okay.
So this is probably my favorite of all of the Keanu Reeves fights and all of the John Wick scenes because, in my opinion, it's the most authentic. And it's something to be said about the over dramatization of a lot of the fight scenes, especially in John Wick when the use of guns is paramount, that the antique fight shop adds its own little level of like levity. So the timing and the pacing of this scene really sets the tone for the film too, because it comes on the heels of the library scene where him being excommunicado really kicks off and there's a frantic rush. It's even better knowing how much of an actual badass Keanu is as a 3-gun competitor. And the knife throwing scene is absolutely brilliant. Him and this guy basically realize they're out of bullets. They look around them. They're surrounded by antique knives and glass cases, and they start just hammering away at them. And the best part is that most of the knives don't hit. It's like one knife sticks a guy, then like he throws one with his offhand and it just like slaps against him and falls him haphazardly against the ground. And I think that adds a level of realism to it it just feels apropos and balances out some of the gruesome kill shots that he has later on. There's one where he slow pushes one into a guy's eyeball.
Oh, okay.
There's one where it sticks into the top of the head and he just gives it a little extra nudge. And then the editing at the end to finish off the scene is beautiful because some guy decides to bring out an axe against John. And that guy later on is the last one alive. And he's just kind of like gasping, sitting against the glass case. And they shift, the camera flips 180, flips axis. And you see the guy in the foreground. You see John blurred out in the background, picking up the axe. And he throws the axe backwards towards camera front into the frame. And boom, sticks the guy from distance and just walks out.
Getting
like
gruesome fast
just a pure walk off.
Man, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
All right.
But Tommy's picks are super bloody. Like they're just getting like a rated R gore on this.
I mean, I mean, I started with a Disney franchise, so let's
ramp it up fast.
Yep.
All right. So now we're back to you, Jacob. You are now with your third pick, and then after we do mine, then we'll do our Whoop podium. For the
okay.
week.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So Jacob, you're up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, third pick of the draft. We are coming in. I'm going to try and nail this quote in the beginning of it. Okay, we've got the legions of Scipio.
Yes. So
everyone loves a good underdog story, and nothing better than the recreation of the Battle of Carthage with the Romans and the legionnaires from Scipio. But no one told the people that were the Romans in the middle of the Colosseum that they had to lose the game. And I love old movie to this day. Love that scene. I'll watch it on YouTube. Just Russell Crowe. You're going to see me picking actors now that I just love. And Russell Crowe is the freaking man. And seeing him play that in that scene is amazing. Seeing him win against all odds and seeing him mount a horse, which he wasn't supposed to have, and then chase people down on it. No.
That was the horse pick you were asking about earlier, huh?
Man,
there were vehicles, you know.
Yes.
But okay, we'll allow that. I would love the part where he's like, whatever comes out of those doors, we have a better chance of surviving if we work together. Remember that one? Like,
yeah.
That was that's a good one, man. Jacob, I'm very impressed with your last two picks because neither one was on my list.
I had to sit down and think to myself, what are these boys gonna pick? I need to pick something different. I need to pick something that just resonates. Like if I can give you chills.
I had another fight from this movie on there. That one is great. That is gosh, that is such a good movie.
Like that's a remote dropper. That's like that one's on. It's staying on. Like if I come across it,
There are some like in the halls of like the most badass lines of all time. Like his revelation of himself to Caesar is, I mean, up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you feel like you could just run through a wall when you recite that.
Oh man.
Well, that poor guy that played Caesar, you think to yourself, I don't think he ever got an acting job after that, because everyone was like, we hate him because he played that guy from
Lucky he's the Joker. Yeah. He like won an Academy Award, didn't he, for that?
He did.
All right. But he just looks so different.
He does. Yeah. He does. He looks very different.
Yeah. Man. Okay. So it's to me now. I get back to back. So we'll do this and then we're going to do Whoop. So I'm loving this because still my picks are all still here. So trying to know, I'm just for the sake of, contracts and what you got to pay, where do you take this one? So my third pick, I'll mirror what Jacob just did with the quote, and I will get the opening quote to this fight. And that is, no touching of the face or hair. And that's it.
Of course. Yes, of course.
Anchorman news team brawl, which is given my like you talk about having, staying true to yourself, given my background in, having worked in TV news, believe me, there were some fantasies amongst your station about going to war with some of the other stations in town. And this one captured it all. And the fact that there's like, there's a guy on a horse and a man on fire, and Brick killed a guy with a trident.
One of the most quotable fight scenes of all time.
Oh, it's so good. And then like the way it escalates, like the Spanish news comes out, and then the PBS shows up, and it was
this guy running through on fire,
that net off the top of the horse, and you got Brick just walking around with a grenade. So as far as being a serious fight scene and providing some of the choreography and wow factor that you get from other fight scenes, it doesn't have it, but it delivers on the comedic level, and it is it's just so fun to watch because it gets so ridiculous, but it's just hilarious. And Brick steals the show. And Brick, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. You might want to lay low for a while because you're probably going to be wanted for murder.
Oh man, I had that on my board, and that is fantastic. Oh,
all right. So I got to catalog this. So that's my third pick. And now I got to make my fourth one. And now my board's wide open here.
Yep.
And I might take a little bit of a risk here. And and then so we'll do that once I make my last pick. We'll get to Whoop. Man, I don't know what I'm going to do here. Okay. Ooh. I'm going to go with one I love. And it's because of the way it's a long fight scene because it occurs at the end of the movie. But the way it ends is still one of the most exciting endings, I think, in any movie, period. And that is Rocky versus Apollo Creed and Rocky 2. And the end of that, like just everything that happens there leading up to it is like, do not stop at nothing. Don't stop the fight. Cut me, Mick, the whole thing. Yeah. Just two guys who are, just beat to all holy hell here. And then at the very end, spoiler alert, they knock each other down. And it's who gets up first. And to this day, I still am like, get up. And, Paulie's, get up, Rock. And Mickey's down there. And the count's going on in slow-mo. And they're crawling up the ropes. And it's just like exhaustion. And they're doing everything they can just to stand up. And that ending to me is like still, every time I watch it, I know how it's going to end.
Yep.
But every time I'm like, oh, man, is he not going to get up this time? And that was one, Jacob talks about wanting to read about Greek mythology. That made me want to learn how to box just because it looked, the fights in Rocky don't look anything like real boxing.
Yeah.
But if there's some video that's actually been released of the two of them kind of choreographing, I think the fight from the first one. Yeah. And it's pretty interesting to see how they do it. But that Rocky versus Apollo Creed fight scene is just phenomenal.
Oh, and it's been, it's been like that becoming a pop culture piece, right? Like everyone's down, first one to stand up. Like they even like kind of caricature it in Talladega Nights and Ricky Bobby when they both crash. Yep. It's the first one to run across the street, and it's like all bets are off. It's just the first person to show some sort of advantage at this point, and like that's the desperation mode.
Yeah,
All right.
So now before we work back through here, we got to take a quick break, and we're going to now do our Whoop podium as we do every week. So what category do you want to do for our Whoopers?
I'm not going to lie, my heart rate's up pretty high. So let's look at let's look at day strain, and let's look on single highest activity.
Okay.
So we're gonna take a look at the Talking Elite Fitness Whoop group. We're filming this on a Friday, and we're gonna take a look at the single highest activity for today. And no surprise, Liz Dalmas, number one, 20.5 on her Whoop. Holy cow. David Millard, 17.6. Johan Henriksen, running, 17.4. Jarhad Bonner, manual labor, 17.2, putting in the work. Andrew McLaughlin, cycling, 16.4. Brandon Rizek, functional fitness, 16.2, doing that CrossFit. Dennis Anderson, horseback riding, 16.0. Mary Kerr, running, 15.5. Katja Meyer-Hoffman, functional fitness, 15.5. And rounding out the top 10, adding a little spice to the list, Mark Taylor, surfing at 15.5. So those are our top 10 day strains for a single activity for today, Friday, January 15th. Congrats, guys.
All right, good work, everybody. Now let's get back to business here. So I just made my third and fourth picks. So I got one more left.
Yep.
Jacob, you are now up with pick number
4.
Yes.
Pick number 4.
Okay.
Pick number 4. Hopefully you guys have seen it. It's one of a great movies. Also harkens back to, again, Russell Crowe. Not as young as Gladiator, but still capable of being a villain in this movie. We have a story of poverty, of doing the right thing, of integrity and sacrifice. We have a story of Christian Bale sacrificing his life to do the right thing in 3:10 to Yuma. And in that movie, we have Christian Bale going against all odds, his son in tail, and sacrificing his life to do what he thought was right in delivering Russell Crowe to a train in Yuma, which happened to be the train was at 3:10. Just a great movie of just like doing the right thing, integrity, and being like, you know what? I don't care what you say. I'm going to do it no matter if no one's watching at all. He had opportunities to walk away and still did it and died because of it. But remember Russell Crowe had that like sidekick that, like the weird kid who had like 2 pistols, like was really weird and acted weird, and Russell just shot him. Oh, that was just the whole getting onto the train was awesome. And then Russell Crowe still got in the train, left with it, was just awesome.
That's a good one.
That one's out of like I did not.
Me neither.
You could have given me 100 picks, and I would have never got
that one.
Wow.
I thought to myself, I needed one Western in there, and that was my choice. I had some other options, but that was my choice.
That's really good. I think, Tommy, you and I have gone more mainstream here. I think like most of the stuff on our list, most people, I am very impressed with how Jacob has researched this and come up with some that are, this is a strong list.
Yeah.
This is a good first guest to have here. Let's bring it.
Man. So that kind of like re-kicked some creative juices for me. So my family, we love spaghetti westerns.
Oh, yeah.
My dad always has Gunsmoke on, always has the Virginian on. That's always on in the background when we're just hanging out. God, but okay. So this is my fourth pick, was what I consider my spirit of the games type pick. And I'm torn between 2, but I'm ultimately going to go with what I think is the better fight scene overall.
Okay.
And this one may not hit with the fans in terms of the vote on the graphic, but the minute they go watch it and they watch the full scene in its entirety, they're going to appreciate it. And it's The Legend of the Drunken Master, the final fight. It's Jackie Chan's finest fight scene that I think he's ever done. The movie came out in 1994. I think it was called The Drunken Master 2, based off translation. But if you want to talk about kind of setting the bar high for what would end up being, and anyone who's familiar with martial arts movies, there's like this pipeline of like the Chinese Hong Kong martial arts. It was Bruce Lee, it was Jackie Chan, it was Jet Li, it was Donnie Yen. It was all those guys that were basically action stars that were able to break through to Hollywood. Jackie Chan, this was 4 years before Rush Hour debuted. And this scene, it's like a 9-minute fight. And knowing that Jackie Chan does all of his own stunts, and that like he is actually doing all of this is what's amazing. The choreography, martial arts skills are ridiculous, but the story that's woven into it is what separates it from the rest of like the rest of the other fight scenes. And Jackie Chan is the best at adding comedic relief to give him a greater leash for the absurd that can be kind of present in the Kung Fu movies. So he's kind of like, I've seen him described as the cross between Bruce Lee and Charlie Chaplin. So it's like a little bit of both. And so the fight is in a steel mill. And honestly, for like 90% of it, he gets the crap beat out of him. He loses to the henchman. He loses to the boss. He gets, I mean, his character specializes in drunken boxing, which is, you know, you actually have to be drunk to actually like fight. And in the steel mill, he gets hit over the head with like a chair. He gets kicked into a bed of coals and like scalds his hands and like crawls backwards over the coals. Like it's legit. He gets hit. They pull, one of the henchmen pulls a steel rod out of the coals and hits him, like leg sweeps him and like burns his leg. It's crazy. And then in the last like few minutes, he resorts to, in the story, drinking basically pure mechanical alcohol that's used to clean off the gears to get himself drunk in like 30 seconds. And then he just goes into super Jackie Chan mode. And like, I think like at one point he drinks.
Don't try that at home, kids.
At one point he drinks so much booze that like when he starts to fight, he has to stop the fight and then vomits and goes, "That's better," and then beats the crap out of him.
Your fight scenes have a lot of like projectile things happening here. I feel like very graphic.
There's a lot going on. I you know, as a kid who probably has just a touch of ADD, I need a lot going on to keep my attention.
Okay, but, so you're down to your final pick now.
Yeah, it's my final pick. Yeah, so I wanted to get that one. Honestly, this might be like that Jackie Chan one. Might be one of the best like pure fight scenes of all time, but I felt like I could get it late. Let's see.
Good strategy.
Okay, so this one is what I'm including as my dark horse pick.
All right.
And this is gonna shock some people.
Uh-oh.
I watched this fight actually happen. I watched this movie in its entirety maybe 2 weeks ago. And it's a remote dropper for me. I had the dual DVD set with its partner movie in college. And it's the Bob Barker fight from Happy Gilmore.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, absolutely.
It is, as far as fights go, it's one of the more quotable fight scenes of all time of comedic history. Now you're going to get it, Bobby. Arnie says, and he drops a few choice words. And he's like, the price is wrong, blank. And I think you've had enough. No. And Bob Barker kicks him across the face. Now you've had enough. And then Bob Barker drops a curse word. I don't think there's been any more like reframing of who you think this person is to like the stark reality, like, oh, they got a little bit more to him than we thought. Then Bob Barker showing up in an Adam Sandler movie, beating the crap out of Adam Sandler, dropping a few curse words. And if I'm being honest, his technique, Bobby's got a few stiff jabs.
You can tell that Bobby may have gotten into some fisticuffs back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was, to me, that was like one of the, like, especially early on, that was one of the highlights of the movie is like the Bob Barker fight. Like, I remember people being like, dude, did you see that Bob Barker fight in the Happy Gilmore? You're like, no way. That was awesome. And
that scene did kind of steal the whole movie.
It did. And it was like, it almost felt out of place at times. Cause like, I mean, granted they wove his anger into it, but it also set him up for the Subway commercial, right? Like that goes later on. I loved the way they put that in there because who in their right mind would think, you know what this movie about a refined hockey player who becomes a golfer needs? a fight with the host of The Price is Right.
And Bob Barker, like a national treasure.
He is. He's an American icon. Like when you think about like game show hosts, it's Bob Barker
and everybody else.
So,
No offense, Alex Trebek. No offense, Alex Trebek.
Yeah. And but obviously Bob Barker was first, you know, and I think, I don't know, Jeopardy never felt like a game show to me. It felt like a quiz show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
That felt like a little bit different style.
Not spinning a big wheel or trying to,
stop
the climber before he goes off the cliff.
It's not a game of chance, exactly. Exactly. But,
all right. Well, that's a solid list you got there, Tom.
Good choice.
Solid 5. All right. So now, Jacob, it's to you for your 5th and final pick.
All right, 5th and final pick. You can't leave out one of the great wars in the world, right? We've got to have something for World War II. We just can't
Mm-hmm.
And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Saving Private Ryan. Oh, Band of Brothers. All great options, but no, that's not a dark horse. Our dark horse is a fictional retelling of a true story of the Battle of Stalingrad. And what we have here is the movie Enemy at the Gates.
Another
with
great
a real
movie.
life.
Oh,
Hey, oh boys, I'm gonna roll. Will we have a young Vasily Zaitsev defending his homeland? The Germans have pushed so far using their blitzkrieg and going east as far as they can, and they've hit Stalingrad. And now we've got the Russians staying their ground, and we've got playbacks to Vasily learning how to shoot a rifle and drop wolves on his property, protect his sheep. Just like now, it's a metaphor to I'm protecting my people. I'm trying to stop the enemy at the gates. And one of my favorite sequences of that battle is the last one, right? We've got the German sniper, whose name, who cares anymore, right? And we've got Vasily, and we have also got Vasily's best friend, right? And they're having an argument because they're fighting over a woman. Go figure, two men fighting over a woman. And what Vasily realizes is he's in a bad position. Like, he doesn't know where the German sniper's at. He thinks the German sniper knows where he's at, and he doesn't know how to draw the German sniper out. So what does his best friend do? Put on his helmet, sacrifice himself so that the German sniper thinks that Vasily's dead, and then Vasily wins it in the end. Honestly, I've watched that movie so many times, and I love that movie because it's a movie of not just gore, but it's a movie of complete patience.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it.
Yeah, because isn't it Ed Harris who plays that German sniper? Oh, it was him.
Yeah.
You're right. That last scene with the two of them like standing off, there's not a lot of action, but it is super intense.
That is like exactly. You don't. There's the quiet intensity of like every little move could be the difference. Oh man, that's a good one too.
Okay.
Especially when Ed takes his helmet off, like he knows he's lost, and he just takes it off like, "Hey, it's a great job. I'm gonna resign here." That would just chills. It was a great movie.
Okay, man, that's a good. Jacob, I'm impressed, man.
Thank you, gents. Thank you.
You brought it.
I'm not a mainstream kind of guy. I like my movies from the 90s around there, like older classics.
All right, so that means I got to close this thing out. Now there's a couple different directions I can go here, and I feel like I really need to go with my heart because you talk about old movies. I'm going to go. I've already gone to the I believe 1979 or 80 was Rocky 2. I'm going to go even before that.
Oh gosh.
I'm going to go early, like I think it's 74, 75. And Tommy, your Bob Barker fight does not happen without this fight. And that is King Arthur versus the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Ah, yes.
And that it's okay. So if you leading up to that scene, you've already understood how ridiculous this movie is. You have Arthur, skipping through the forest with the coconuts going, and then that dun 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 dun, dun and then they cut and they this savage fight between these two knights. And you can hear the armor crashing and the swords, and it's like a brutal fight between these two. And then they go back to King Arthur is still galloping, and then they go back to the fight scene between the Black Knight and this ill-fated knight. And I think the thing ends with the Black Knight like spearing him through the visor with his sword. And it's like, oh man, that was brutal. Like, this guy is a savage.
Yep.
And so Arthur shows up and this imposing Black Knight is sitting there and he's like, none shall pass, move aside, good night and all that. And then the battle ensues. You're like, oh man, this is like serious stuff. And then he hacks his arm off. And then he's like, that's when it gets ridiculous. Tis but a scratch. It's only a flesh wound. You're bleeding arms off. No, it isn't. And it just goes off the rails, ridiculous. And this will show you the level of coaching that I had in high school. My JV football coach used to use the Black Knight in that movie as an inspirational story as to how you should never give up.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, guys, he had his arms off, he had his legs off, and he quit. No, he wanted to keep fighting. And I wanted to be like, Coach, this is like a parody, right? This is not like a real. So yeah, he used that. He got all fired up about the Black Knight and Monty Python and the Holy Grail and how he's willing to bite the guy's legs off. There was that was the first time I saw that really young. There's of a fight scene that you expected this really epic battle, and it became this just piece of comedy genius that everybody knows about. So I know I've gone two kind of comedic routes here. I feel like we had a theme with all these. Like, Jacob went kind of, very self-sacrifice, altruistic, you went more the kind of graphic. I went a little more on the comedic side with two of my picks. So it was a good, well-rounded draft. I think we're going to give the people who are going to vote on this some things to mull over here.
I think what we found is that Jacob has a superior moral compass to the rest of us because
we're absolutely true.
Well, wait, I do have 4 movies that Kelly put together a list. So let me show you.
I want to hear hers. Okay, this is good. Okay.
Okay. So number 1, and you nailed it, Sean, Anchorman fight scene.
Yep. See, there you go.
So Sean's got that. Number 2, I don't know that the battle has a name, but I'm gonna call it the Night of the Dead. It's like the last season of Game of Thrones when the Army of the Dead fights the Winterfell, pretty much.
The battle.
Yeah, it's more of a battle. We'll count it for these purposes.
Yeah. What is that called?
Yeah.
I actually thought, so interesting enough, and the reason why I asked, I thought that the battle for the Battle of the Bastards could have
that's been on my list as number 6.
Yeah, because what's it called? Because Jon Snow starts out by himself.
Yes, I would. Yeah,
that's why I clarified that.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. She goes, Taken, or she said anything with Liam Neeson. So I said, what about Phantom Menace? And she said, hell no. And I said, okay, never mind. And then her 4th and final pick was anything with Captain America because he's hot. So, I mean,
Fantastic, Kelly.
Those are good. Now, Jacob, did you have any on your list that you were kind of teetering on that you didn't take, that you left out?
The only one I had only wrote down 6, and the only one I didn't write down because it had too many vehicles in it was the Battle of the Bastards. I mean, I had a buddy of mine who hasn't seen Game of Thrones. I had him over the house a couple days ago, and I was like, I just want you to watch one fight sequence, and I just love it because it's a true telling of an underdog. Like you're like this. I mean, like I think the shot took 80 days and like cost $1 million every 60 seconds. It's just absurd. And like Jon Snow almost died and it's a great scene.
Yeah. Again.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Great scene.
What about you, Tommy? Did you have?
I actually prepared a draft board that was like 20 deep. So just in case.
Just give me a couple.
Okay. So my top ones: Matrix Reloaded, the Chateau fight scene. That one, the use of weaponry in that one was phenomenal. And the Enter the Dragon final fight scene, to me, that the most iconic martial arts visual is Bruce Lee.
That's all the mirrors, right?
Yeah, the mirrors is Bruce Lee standing there with the Vega claw scratch across his cheek and his chest. This one, I almost took this one as my dark horse. In the movie 300, the first battle at Thermopylae, with Michael Fassbender's character when he just runs a roughshod. It's what the meme is made out of. That you go and watch that again. Like take a half scoop of pre-workout before you do, because that is just pure unbridled testosterone. It's like taking an EpiPen full of 2 units of juice from like a Western lowlands gorilla. Like that'll just, I mean, you'll be beating your chest and just, because it starts with, he yells, "Spartans, lay down your weapons." And you don't hear a word back. You just see this javelin come from the back row, just hit him square in the chest. And then Gerard Butler says,
time for that.
Yeah, Gerard Butler says, "Persians, come and get them." And then like Fassbender just goes nuts, which is awesome. And that's like that. I think that sequence made that first real fight sequence. I think that everyone realized like that was like one of the eye openers about like Frank Miller's storytelling and Zack Snyder's like production. But yeah, that was the one last one I'd had that I think was a little too niche was the movie Eastern Promises. There's a naked bathhouse scene with Viggo Mortensen, and Jacob knows what I'm talking about. I've been to a Chinese bathhouse before, and
I remember the story.
Yes, there were some weapons being swung around, except it was a paddle and not a knife. But
I thought you were going to go a different direction with that one. Okay. So the ones I had, another comedic one, probably the shortest fight scene in history, but still one of the greatest ones was Indiana Jones versus the Swordsman in Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was supposed to be a fight. They were actually supposed to do it, but Harrison Ford was so sick that day that they couldn't shoot it. Like he's like, "I'm physically unable to do this." And he goes, "How about I just shoot him?" And they all kind of laughed. And it turned out to be like a hardest I've ever heard my father laugh in a movie theater in my life when that happened. It's so great. Like another one where you're like, "Oh, this is going to be a good shoot score." And he's just like,
Well, it's because we all think it. We all think like, why don't you just shoot him? We've all said it, and he just did it.
Yes, just shoot the guy.
Yep.
And then I had Neo versus all the Smiths from Matrix Reloaded. What else? And I had the Yushu Lian versus Jen Yu from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just a beautiful, well choreographed fight scene.
One just popped in my head. The final Kumite in Bloodsport. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the movie Sin City.
Yes.
Marv versus Kevin. It's Elijah
that.
Wood's character.
Okay.
He ends up cutting his limbs off, but that one was a little too graphic for me. And then
that's where you draw the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
the one that I couldn't pull from Marvel because they revisit it and is the elevator fight scene in The Winter Soldier.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like a pretty famous sequence, but yeah, there's
all right. Well, listen, Jacob, we really appreciate you doing this, man. What have you been up to lately? Like, where can people find you on the social medias?
You can just Google me. I'll pop up somewhere sooner or later. Like that, or Google my dog. One of the two, I'll pop up.
I know you've started a YouTube channel too. How's that going?
It's going well. Yeah, we're gonna bring it back slowly. It kind of took 2020 off, as we all kind of did. So it's kind of took a little siesta. So
awesome.
Have you guys moved into a new spot, right?
Yeah. So we sold our old house that most people recognize with the barn on it that I worked on for many years. It had 10 acres of that. We actually bought 50 acres down the road. We renovated the house on it, and we're building a humongous barn on it. And then we're going to finish it up and build a house I'm going to eventually die in the back of the property because I'm never moving ever again.
Have you decided on a name for the barn? I know you were.
Oh, dude, there are a lot of names. Dago. Well, you sent me a couple too, didn't you?
I thought Barn Delore would be good.
Yeah. Dago Barn was one because Dagobah, Luke and Yoda train. Yeah. So I was like, well, they're training there. They're in a handstand position. It's got to be Dagobah, but everyone's just gonna laugh at me. So I got to pick something normal, probably.
No, you don't. Dago Barn is awesome.
That's phenomenal. I love a good pun too.
Absolutely. Listen, man, we appreciate you doing this. It was a lot of fun. Best of luck with everything, and we hope to see you soon, man.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, you bet. It's Podium Picks, fight scenes. Vote on who had the best of the 5, and we'll post that on social media. So, all right, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.